Hey, soil mates. Welcome to Men Metal Mayhem, the podcast where the brothers men take a deep dive into the discographies of our favorite metal bands. I'm your host, Brother Paul, joined as ever by my two brothers and co-hosts, Brother John
Wait, guys, still having internet problems over here?
and Brother Dave.
In the pipe, 5x5.
We are finishing up our run of bonus episodes titled Selected Cuts. And today we are doing Brother Dave's pick, Darkane's 2005 album, Layers of Lies. Join us in this godforsaken universe. As this is Brother Dave's selection, I'm going to turn the floor over to him to talk a little bit about how he discovered this band and why he chose this album. Brother Dave.
With pleasure, brother Paul. You don't steal my line. All right, take it away. We we had to do Darkane, and we had to do this album in particular simply to bring you, our dozen of listeners, in on the ongoing Layers of Lies joke that we've been making for the past 15 or so episodes. I got into Darkane around 2003 in early college, and they immediately hooked me with their orchestral intros, their overpowering guitar tone, and just frantic shredding throughout. I listened to these guys a ton in college, and I even saw them at the intersection with when they were opening for Strapping Young Lad in 2005. I think it would have been shortly after this album came out. Uh,
I'm jealous as fuck of that.
yeah, it was a great show. And in fact, I was doing a little research on this show, and I Googled Darkane Grand Rapids, and actually it came up with a like diary thing, a blog, I guess you would say, from Christopher Malmstrom, the lead guitarist and founding member of Darkane. And he mentions that he was having trouble with his gear. And I was like, I remember that. They sounded like absolute shit when they started playing. I think they went on without a sound check or anything. Because then after the show, I remember very briefly interacting with Klaus Eideberg, their other guitarist. And he was like, "How did it sound out there?" And I was like, "Real shitty at first, but it got good for like after the first song." And he was like, "Oh, good, good." And yeah, he seemed like a nice guy. And then the other thing that I found funny about this blog post was apparently later they went to Harpos in Detroit. And I don't know if you boys remember Harpos. Uh, Real sketchy venue outside. And he says as much. He was like, "Yeah, they told us only walk between the venue and the bus. So that's what we did."
Did we
So
see In Flames at Harpo's? I
I
feel
saw a couple
like,
people at Harpo's. I think we saw In Flames. I think I saw Opeth and Nevermore there. And I want to say I've been to like one other show there.
yeah,
so
because I
I've
feel like I drove you and maybe one or two other friends to In Flames, and I think that's where it was. And you guys
Hmm.
got my ticket in exchange for me driving you because I had a car at the time in college
Yeah,
and nobody else did or something like that. And that was a good one, but yeah, it did seem like kind of a sketchy area as I recall.
I've never been to Harpo's, but recently, somebody booked a national, like a Nazi black metal band festival there. And they had like tried to keep it under wraps, and then day of, it was like, oh, it's going on at Harpo's, and there was like seven kind of Nazi black metal bands playing, and a fuckload of protesters showed up and shut it down. Um, and got the gig canceled. So great energy. And
Yeah.
the owners of Harpos were like, "We got hoodwinked on this one, blah blah blah." But it's I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, back on track. Darkane.
Yes.
I always loved their guitars most of all, but even back in the day, I wasn't unaware that their vocalists were not the same caliber as a lot of other bands that I was listening to at the time. I was in a band in college, and I fondly recall me and my pianist Jordan. We would frequently make jokes about the Darkane vocals. But despite that, I do come back to them every now and again. And though, I mean, like a lot of the formative bands for me, I kind of fell out of their new stuff. I haven't really kept up with that. So this was really the last album of theirs that I am familiar with. And, you know, there's just a soft spot in my heart for Darkane.
Well, awesome. With that, let's turn to the year in metal. And this album was released June 27th, 2005. And I just wanted to highlight a couple similar albums that came out that same year, starting with Brother John's favorite band in the world, Mors Principium Est, coming out with The Unborn.
Oh, hell yeah, that's a good one. A lot of people hold that one up as their best album, and an
I
argument could
listened to
certainly
it
be made
today.
that that's true.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one.
We have Dark Tranquillity coming out with Character. And so I saw them open for, I think they were opening for Opeth. And they had also that first song, Terrible Sound Mix or whatever. And I think they were playing The Wonders at Your Feet. And it has a guitar solo. And total silence during that part. Couldn't hear a
Oh
single
no.
thing. And just Michael, it like, the whoever the guitar starts playing, you can't hear anything. And Michael Stane just goes like, "What the hell?" Just, it
Was that
just
at the Orbit Room?
no, I this was at the rave in Milwaukee,
Uh,
when I saw them. But and then let's see, Arch Enemy came out with Doomsday Machine, and boy, I listened to that this week, and it sure is an Arch Enemy album.
I feel like it's one of the better Arch Enemy
It
albums.
is, but there's a certain formula there with them, um, that's not necessarily bad. You kind of know what you're getting when you listen to
Hmm.
Arch Enemy. This is one that I discovered. A band called The Absence came out with From Your Grave, and they're a Tampa-based mellow death band, and this was their debut. And I listened to it, and I was like, this is legit enough to listen to all the way through. This is fine.
yeah, I
Um,
recall hearing them and liking them, but this was a long time ago. I haven't listened to them in forever, but I recall them being good. So,
yeah.
yes, you're telling the truth, Paul.
Okay. Oh, good. Whew.
These aren't lies, layers of lies that you're spreading.
And then finally, we do have Strapping Young Lad came out with Alien that year. And of course, our friends over at Soilwork came out with Stabbing the Drama, which we collectively rated a 4.9. So with that, I believe Brother John has something a little fun he's gonna try to pitch us right
That's
now.
true. Well, first, I want to also tag on that Gojira came out with From Mars to Sirius, and that's a pretty legit album as well. I like Gojira. But I wanted to drop a little bit of trivia on you guys and see who can get closer. So I was looking at Darkane. I listened on Spotify, and I was just kind of struck by the number of listeners, like the monthly listeners that they have. So I don't know, Paul, you also listen on Spotify. Not sure if you would have looked at that, but don't look now. I want you each to put a guess, and whoever's closest, it's not like without going over, but just whoever is legit the closest to the number of monthly listeners will win my respect and admiration. Paul, why don't you go first?
Oh gosh. So I think I have I'm not looking now and I didn't look. it is always weird on Spotify. I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna guess 70,000 monthly listeners.
Brother Dave.
Well, I have no idea how Spotify works. So I'm gonna go off of YouTube, which I think they have like 12,000 subs. So let's say 24,000 Spotify listens.
It was, and so there's monthly listeners because it doesn't show like the song listen count, but it was 6,314, which I thought was surprisingly low
Oh,
because
that's
these
super
guys have been
low.
around for a long time. They put out a lot of albums and they seem like well respected and everything. So I thought that was interestingly low. And that got me thinking. I was like, okay, well, how much do other bands have that we've looked at? So, Soilwork, what do you think the monthly listeners for Soilwork is? And this is just as of whenever I picked it, like the other day. So it's like in the last month,
I'm going to guess 180,000.
Brother
I'm gonna
Dave.
go 140K.
Oh, you guys sold Soilwork short. They have 474,800
Ooh.
monthly listeners.
I remember, I think I looked at it when we were doing the show and they were like in the mid 200s. So they really jumped
Really?
off with this new single of theirs.
That,
Happy
I
for you,
mean, honestly,
boys.
that could be it. That's awesome. And on Last FM, they have 611,000 listeners, 41.7 million scrabbles for an average of 68.2, which I thought was not too bad. Spine Shank, what do you think their monthly listener count is?
Ooh, that's an interesting one because I would expect it to be low, except that they just announced that they're getting the band back together
Yeah.
for a 25 year. I still think it's gonna be low though. I'm gonna say like 6,000.
I'll guess 17,000.
This one I thought was surprisingly high for the same reason. They haven't been around doing much for a long time, but they were kind of mainstream back in the day. I think got a lot of radio play.
Yeah.
240,200,
Holy crap.
Jesus.
which was quite a few.
Okay.
And on Last FM, 476,000 listeners, 8.3 million Scrabbles for 17.4 average listens per user. What about Non-Exist? And Paul, this was your choice. And
Uh
when was the last time they put out an album? Because it's
uh
been a while for them.
well, they came out, they kind of reformed in the mid 2010s. I think they came back in 2015 and they put out one in 2018. I'm gonna guess low. So I'm going to guess I'm gonna guess 900.
I'm gonna go 2,000.
It was 370.
Oh,
And on Last FM, they have 6,282 listeners. It was so low, it was a very precise number. 83,000 Scrabbles for 13.2 average Scrabbles per user. And we already talked about Darkane. So lastly, we'll cover Mors Principium Est, which was my pick from last week. What do you think for the Spotify monthly listeners?
I
60K.
I was gonna go higher. I will go 250,000.
Ooh, Brother Dave, you are closer. It is 104,900. And on Last FM, 162,400 listeners, 7.9 million Scrabbles for 48.6 average. So Soilwork had the largest numbers overall, the largest average. Mors Principium Est coming in with the second highest average, but Spineshank with the second highest overall listener count. So just a fun little recap of what we've been listening to so far. Great job, guys. You were not very close on most of them, but on some of them you were. So
I
you
feel
you
like
have
we've proven that we don't have our finger on the pulse of the industry.
Nope.
well, and I don't know. It seems like it's kind of all over the place. It's like not necessarily a whole lot of rhyme or reason to it, but
hmm
yeah, I similarly couldn't have guessed those numbers before I looked them up. But you both do still have my respect and admiration.
Well, as long as we're doing this, let's just check in on our friends, the Lord and Vane, who are up to 54 monthly listeners. The patented Triple M bump coming through big.
Oh,
Hell
hell
yeah.
yeah.
They peaked and valleyed. They had gotten up to this kind of middle of the season, then dropped back down to like 30, 35, and now, boy, they
Yeah,
went up like
actually,
double digits.
you know what? They were kind of buried here in my notes because I did look them up. And when I looked them up the other day, they had 50 listeners. So, that it's always, I think, like a rolling last month
Yeah.
average or something. But on Last FM, they had 69 listeners, 256
Nice.
scrabbles, which is 3.7 average. So, come on, guys. Download Last FM, pump up those numbers for our boys in Lord in Vain.
All right. Well, with that, let's move to the album itself. And Brother Dave, tell us who played on this.
Yeah, we mentioned that it was released in 2005. It is their fourth studio album with their third vocalist, which isn't actually as bad as it seems. Their first vocalist was a little someone by the name of Bjorn Speed Strid, and he left before they recorded their first album. And the second guy, Lawrence McCrory, was only on their first album up until this point. So by the time we get to Layers of Lies, we've had the same vocalist for 3 albums in a row, and he is Andreas Saido. The rest of the band is Christopher Malmstrom on lead guitar, Klaus Eideberg on rhythm guitar, Jörgen Löfberg on bass, and Peter Wildur on drums. And of note here is that aside from their rotating cast of vocalists, these 4 dudes have been Darkane for its entire existence since 1998, which I think kind of a standout metric. Malmstrom and Wildur are kind of like the core of the band. They were there at its inception, but they pulled in Eideberg and Lofberg shortly afterwards, and they've just been making sweet, sweaty music ever since.
I, I was
Album,
I always like that about bands when they have kind of like a core, even if there is a revolving door for maybe one spot. I know Paradise Lost, it's their drummer. They go through a new one every 2 albums, but the rest of the band, they've known each other like since they were kids, and they just have been putting
hmm
out music for 30 plus years. So good on
Yeah.
Darkane.
Yeah, good on them. And from like interviews and stuff I've seen, they just seem kind of like nice guys. But, maybe it's all a lie, layers of lies. Uh, so the album was produced by Daniel Bergstrand, who I think we have mentioned before for Soilwork.
Yes, we did.
I forget which album he worked on. I should have looked that up. It was mixed by the band themselves and mastered by a little guy named Goran Finnberg, who is prolific throughout the metal scene around this time. Um, yeah, and that's kind of what we're looking at with the lineup here.
Well, I should say Daniel Bergstrand did Stabbing the Drama the same year.
Oh, excellent.
All right. So, 12 standard tracks, 1 bonus track, just under 43 minutes. We ready for this? It kicks
Let's
off
do it.
with
I was
track,
born ready, so let's go.
kicks off with track number 1, Amnesia in the Wilduring Apocalypse. Brother Dave.
We kick off with one of their goofy songs where they put their own name into the song, which I think they've done on previous albums also. We've got Amnesia of the Wildwarian Apocalypse. We've got later claustrophobic hibernation. Um, I love it. Just the
Oh wait, because
silliness
one
of
of
it.
one of the guys' last names is Wildur or something like that.
Yes.
Yep, their
Okay, I
drummer.
see. I was like, wait,
It's
what? Where does it say Darkane? because it's an instrumental track, so it's not in the lyrics. But I
Yep.
understand now. that, that is pretty ridiculous.
And the other instrumental is called Maelstrom Crisis. I wonder
It is.
how
I
if
looked it up.
I
I
wonder
looked
if
up
they
and
really wanted to call it Maelstrom Crisis and
I
just
I,
couldn't.
I think that's the translation of his last name. Um, I looked it up, and the interviewer was like, "So you kind of self-referential on two of them," and he's like, "No, it's on three. It's three."
Uh, it's kind of the goofy shit that I can totally get on board with.
100%. I love it.
All
Uh,
right. So what are your thoughts on this particular song, Mr. Will Durer's Apocalypse?
it uh it is it's an opener for sure, right? They're setting the tone here, not so much showing us exactly what the songs are going to sound like on this album. They starts with just one big guitar hit that kind of fades into they had a small orchestra play with them on parts of this album and like a 27-person choir.
Yeah, why
And you
did
get
you
to
list all of their names up at the Personnel and
Our
album?
listeners need to have this vital information. I think it was
well,
all listed
it is on
on
Wikipedia.
Wikipedia.
Yes.
I was like, who are these people? And then I was listening. I was like, where the heck is the orchestra? I kind of forgot it was in the first song here because I don't
Yeah,
think it comes back or there's no
it
other choir
I think
stuff. I don't
it
think.
maybe comes back at like one other part, but I feel like that's one of the things that has been a little disappointing about their previous albums for me also is that they've got these orchestral things. I think they're done pretty well, and I want more of it, but it's just kind of maybe an intro and an outro, and that's about it.
Yeah,
So,
because like when this started, I was like, ooh, this is just the kind of orchestral symphonic type of thing that I could totally get into because I had not heard this album before. And I'd heard their first three albums, but never really got into them too much. But I was like, oh, all right, this is kind of like Dimmu Borgir or like Flesh God Apocalypse type of leaning stuff. But then, yeah, they didn't really continue on with that. So,
yeah,
it was nice.
mild disappointment, like the techno from last week. I just
Yeah, I know.
wish there
Just
was a
need
little more
more.
of it.
Got to lean into
Uh,
your thing a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, this is, I mean, it's a weird one. It starts with that big note that then just it fades and kind of lingers there before the orchestra comes in. Guitars really kick in at like 117, but all throughout this song, I have no idea what to expect. I'm,
Well, but
I'm,
the guitars kick in for like only the last 20 seconds. They
yeah,
completely change what they're doing for like not very long, and then it's done. It's like, okay, what was that at
yeah,
the end? They,
yeah.
the first part I thought was cool, and then they kind of throw some weird, totally dissimilar little tag on the end. So I don't know. That I thought that was odd.
Yeah,
right.
it would have been nice if the guitar part was longer because I think it works together really well, but it's over. And then you're like, "What? Why? Why?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, really, this song has primed me to be ready for a black metal album. So that's what I'm expecting going forward after hearing this intro. I'm like, okay, got a nice little black metal symphonic intro. Let's drive into some blast beats and shrieks and we'll see what happens. So let's move on to track number two. Secondary effects. Brother Dave, continue.
So they primed us for something. And then get the guitars kick this one off. It is frenetic, let's say.
That was what I wrote. That's my first thing. Frenetic. So I mean that's the adjective for sure.
Um, and I feel like this is we're gonna see a theme emerge that they have got very chaotic parts, especially in their verses, and but they do a great job of taking that chaos and weaving it together kind of to a crescendo where they'll build into something, which is usually the chorus. And I think at 54 seconds, that chaos really comes together into something a little more parsable for the pre-chorus. And then we get, I think, a pretty catchy chorus despite the monotone vocals. And then they go back to the verse. They do another sort of build with a great transition into the solo, and we get to hear their I think also great soloing style. They've got a lot of that mellow death harmonization stuff going on, but then they also will trend into some lesser used scales some of the time. I like what's going on in this song. I like this song a lot. I think it's a banger.
So I'm just gonna get this out of the way up top. I mean, we've not been shy about it, but Andreas Seidau is not a good singer. Like, right?
I
So,
I was confused, I guess, maybe is the right word. Like when I first heard it, it's like, what the fuck is this? Like this guy sucks. But the more I listened, it's like, okay, I guess I can get kind of used to this.
It's
It's like the guitar tone from Soil Work from Sworn to a Great Divide. It's like, okay, I don't know if I love this, but then you're just kind of hearing only that. You're not listening back and forth with other bands. You're like, oh, this is normal. And so I think it's like Stockholm syndrome or
yes.
something. They've got, and they are from around Stockholm somewhere, right? From Sweden anyway.
they
So
are
maybe
from
this
Helsingborg.
is
Yeah,
Like
they
okay.
are.
Well,
Soilwork.
Well,
this is I don't know. They're close enough to Stockholm to be giving me the syndrome because by today I was like, I don't think I mind these vocals. But it also maybe kind of depends on the song because I feel like as the album goes on, maybe it wasn't hitting me as offensively or something. Like some of the later songs on the album, they didn't stand out as being so ridiculous and stupid. But I don't know. I'm a very mixed opinion, I guess, on
yeah.
the vocals.
I'll comment on the vocals again. I hadn't listened to this in maybe a couple of years uh, before coming back to it for the pod, and I knew the vocals were not good. And when I put this on, I was like, oh, these aren't as bad as I remember, actually. And I think they do kind of grow on you to some extent. And by the end of the album, or maybe halfway through the album, I'm like, all right, I'm ready for these vocals to be something else.
Yeah.
But for the first half, I don't actually find them particularly offensive. They're just a little monotone. He's got a very limited range, but he hits the notes. It's like he's not, and he is singing with tone, right? He's
Yes.
got notes in there, which I like. It's not a Johann Leva situation.
We have all our three selected cuts. The singers have been the worst parts of it. So I don't know.
Mors Principium Est, absolutely the least offensive.
Yeah, but also just the most unmemorable. I don't know. I really didn't like it.
Yeah,
But I can't defend Johann Leva, who I picked, because I know he's bad.
well, this is probably why they're one-offs because we don't want to do a whole season of
Very true.
of these guys.
But yeah, so let me just say, not a great singer, but yeah, the chorus is pretty fucking good. But then when they leave the chorus at 122, they do like this weird instrumental break, and then he does the phrase "born a beast" in a twisted voice. Born a beast. Which I don't care for that, sir. They do a big stop at 317, and we used to call that the soil work. This is just maybe the
But
Helsingborg Special. It's just like, let's put a big stop in there, baby.
I feel like
Let
this
everybody know we're
was
from
like
Helsingborg.
this is like a weird place to throw the stop. It's like,
No,
wait,
it's not.
what just happened? I thought it was, and then it starts again. It's like, what the fuck is happening here?
And
I don't know.
any
This
song
song to
can
me-
have a big stop at any point, and it works.
Only if you're from Helsingborg, maybe. But yeah, I don't know. This song in particular seemed like kind of a hodgepodge. There's like some pretty cool stuff and some crazy discordant stuff. I don't know. I didn't totally love this one, but
Yeah.
again, it kind of grew on me a little bit.
Yeah. I don't care for the verses. The chorus is really good, and I like there's a lot of like noodliness underneath. Like the guitar's just noodling around, and I really enjoy that. So I like this one. But yeah, it's it's chaotic, it's frenetic, it's Darkane, baby.
Yeah. I mean, if I feel like if you don't like this song, you're probably not gonna be down with the Darkane.
Right. Well, speaking of this song, I believe this spawned their very first music video. So it's time to open up a little segment called Video Killed the Melodeath Star. And Brother Dave, do you remember anything about this video? You want to talk to us about this one?
I I watched it again today and I was like, okay, I've seen this a few times this week. I should probably actually try to figure out what the story is. So it's like an idyllic middle class neighborhood, and a mother gives a gift to her daughter, and it's one of those viewfinder toys that you like click through it and see different images in like 3D sort of. But the image she sees, I think, is implied to be the band.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
They're trapped inside the
they're on every
viewfinder.
slide.
Yep.
Soilworks trapped inside their amp. These guys are in the viewfinder.
And this was not a new toy because that viewfinder slide thing, totally dirty and like a big blood splatter it looked like was on there. So I don't know. She must have picked this up secondhand, or it's a gift from like a withered old crone going door to door casting curses on people or
Well, that was
something.
from the
Hmm.
door-to-door vacuum salesman.
Well, no,
Shows
because
up.
We're
she got
not
it
there
before
yet,
that guy
though.
showed up. It
Uh,
was probably in the 50s or maybe the 60s because I don't know the last time there was a door-to-door vacuum salesman, unless there's more of a
yeah,
Swedish thing still.
it's definitely harkening back to a an earlier
A,
time.
a simpler time.
I think the thing that stands out to me at the beginning here is once she starts seeing the band is just how weird Andreas Saito is. Like, he's got a lot of faces and he stands so awkwardly the entire time. And I'd say like 75% of this music video is just the band playing. And then they've got kind of this other plot going on with this girl. So then a sleazy salesman comes to the door to sell the mother a vacuum, and the daughter does something.
Yeah,
It looks
that
like
guy at
she's
the
got a
door.
shiv or something, but I don't know. I do not know what this guy at the door has to do with anything.
Well,
It seems like
he
she makes him go insane.
he has everything to do with that thin, smarmy mustache. He looked sleazy as fuck.
Yeah, they cast him very well.
It's like, okay, what's this guy? What's the deal? And then he comes in
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, he's just selling vacuums, I guess.
So I think what happens is that the daughter at this point is going insane because the whole song lyrically is about becoming a beast of some sort. It's not clear what exactly, but I think she's like an evil child. And I think she makes him go crazy because uh we get a shot of him doing that fast forward head shaking around thing that
Yeah, like
Straight-
choppy, fast motion.
Every band has used at some point. Yes.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
all aware.
So we get that going into the solo, and then, I mean, the solo, Malmstrom and Ideberg are chained to the wall by their waists, and they are straining against their shackles while shredding on guitars.
These are huge chains, as I recall. Like they're really big,
yes,
comically
somehow-
large chains.
Oh, geez, I gotta
Comically
rewatch.
large.
Somehow I didn't realize they were chained. I was like, why are they stumbling around so weird? It looked like they were trying to maintain their balance during an earthquake or something.
Yeah.
But I guess they were just trying to get away from their chains.
So I feel like the implication is that they are crazy and they need to be chained up, and now they've infected the girl.
It's
This
like
is-
a ring situation. If you watch
Yeah.
this viewfinder, you will be possessed and maybe die. Who knows?
Yeah. So then the mother takes the daughter on a walk outside, and there are brief shots of the mother as a clown.
Yeah, like
And
a
I,
big black Mickey Mouse nose and a green face, like a creepy ass clown.
yeah, like a creepy ass clown. And so I think the idea is that the daughter has a very warped view of reality, and she's probably in the near future going to put on a grandpa hat and become an average stalker.
I mean, that about sums it up. But I think we really do need to just hammer on the point that like Andreas is just like he's mean mugging in the entire
The whole
video.
time.
Yeah.
And
Like
every
75% of the video is them playing, and about 75% of them playing is his face just being wild, like his crazy eyes and
they're
his
all doing crazy eyes, but he
yeah.
especially is really working the face. So
Yep.
everybody else
And
is
if
like,
you do watch it again, look at how he's standing. It's just like it's like a alien who just got in this human body and is still figuring things out.
that was kind of David Anderson's problem in one of the Soilwork music videos. He's like lurched over, like, have you never stood in your life, sir? Like,
Lurched over with both feet pointing to the one side.
yeah, what is that? They don't teach him how to stand in Helsingborg, huh?
No.
Oh man.
Okay.
I
Well,
did want to point out, so I was reading some of the YouTube comments, and there was multiple ones that said the drummer is my math teacher. So, I mean, I guess maybe he's a math teacher, unless
I
this is
think
some inside joke that I'm not aware of. But I assume
might.
that's his day job, math
Yeah,
teacher.
he might actually be.
I mean,
A
it's on the
perfect job
internet.
for someone playing those polymeters.
Mm-hmm. We'll have some of those coming up.
Oh yeah. Well, let's move on to track number 3.
Oh, before we
Organic.
go there,
Oh,
I don't want to go full lyrical tactics here, but I did want to point out the line, like million creatures trying to defeat.
get fucked.
Uh, perfect.
Oh, we're loose on this one. This is good. Okay, track number 3, Organic Canvas. I love how big the chorus is on this one. There are, dare I say, layers of vocals going on, and it builds. So I don't think it's a super cohesive song. There are various elements going on. There's like this big instrumental break slash solo starting at 2:15. It goes on for a full minute before coming back to the verse, and that really breaks the song in an awkward way. Um, but it's got some really cool elements, despite not being a cohesive song. So, I don't know. Another one that I'm like, great. And the lyrics are really dark and twisted. So, hooray. I like that.
Classic metal fare on the lyrics.
Yeah. Brother John, what are your thoughts?
Well, it does start out with a rad guitar riff, which I liked, but yeah, I just had extra comments on this about not loving the vocal style, so we don't really need to hammer on that again, but I just felt like he sounded flat, like in a way in like he wasn't maybe hitting the notes that he was supposed to, or maybe it was just monotone like you were saying, and that was what I was hearing. But yeah, just extra stood out to me as not being great on this particular song and made the overall song sound less melodic than it could have, because there's some cool stuff going on with the guitars, but I don't know. He ruined it. One bad apple spoiled the bunch. But also, and then in the middle, I didn't have a timestamp for this, but they got into some kind of technical, weird time signature stuff that didn't really pull me in. I think it was maybe a little too unmelodic to help me love it or something. I don't know. this one, I didn't have a lot of great comments. Sorry, Darkane.
That's okay. We'll get through this together. Uh, I mean, th this one also, yeah, I feel what you lads are laying down. I like the intro a lot. I like the harmonization that they are doing a lot. I think they might just be playing the same part exactly, but like offset rather than playing in the same key. So it does an interest. It sounds interesting. Mastodon does this all the time, where instead of just playing higher in the key for the harmonization, they fully just transpose the whole thing up, so you end up getting notes that are not in the same key. It's an interesting technique. I like it for that. I think the chorus is good, like Paul said. And I actually did kind of like the off-kilter chugs part at 214. That I think that's also kind of a Darkane signature move. We're gonna get a lot of weird chugs in weird time signatures in the coming songs. But I do agree the solo doesn't quite fit and it's kind of long and then it's a different energy than the rest of the song. So even if it's good, it's weird also.
Yeah,
So
that's so well put. Just doesn't fit.
yeah. So maybe not the most solid song on this album.
Well, let's move on to track number 4, Fading Dimensions, Brother John.
All right. Well, this one starts with sort of an ominous guitar intro and like some sort of slow plodding drums layered in. And then at about the 45-second mark, it goes into some furious drumming and guitar riffage, kind of pick up the pace. And I got more comments here about the vocals. And so I feel like I took some notes on my first listen through, and I don't know how many times I listened to this album, several times, and I kind of came back and added different notes. So some of the less charitable things I say are probably like my initial listen through, and the more charitable stuff is like after I'd heard it 5 times and I was fully entrenched with the Stockholm syndrome and couldn't remove myself from its grasp. Because this one I was probably turning because I was like, so say the chorus vocal style he uses seems somewhat unique, like where he's singing, but it's sort of a strange shout. I don't really like it. It seems like it would be an acquired taste. And then I say, I think the more I listen, the less I hate it, but I'm still not a big fan of what he's doing. It's the Darkane signature sound. So just like trying to rationalize what the hell am I listening to here as I listen to it multiple times. But then at 221, they go into some syncopated riff, which was sort of an odd time signature thing, and I couldn't wrap my head around it. And I feel like as a drummer, I should be better at like identifying when people are playing odd time signatures. But whenever I hear it, it's like, oh man, what the hell is happening here? And Dave, you can just hear it and understand it right away, it seems
I
like,
don't
but
I hear it, but I do not
cannot.
understand it. So I listened to this one a bunch of times and I think it's 2 bars of 11/4. But like I had to be like, okay, something weird is going down here. Let's listen to it multiple times and try to count on my fingers as it goes by.
Yeah, I can never figure that out because I never know where to stop in the count. And then it's like, okay, now they're doing it again. I don't know. I'm just too confused. Too confused. But they, at 243,
Too
there was a
drunk.
guitar solo. Too drunk. The guitar solo is pretty cool. And my comment here is these guys can definitely shred. The drums are very technical and precise as well, marred by disagreeable vocals.
Absolutely. I mean, I like this song. Again, starts off kind of chaotic and does that resolving into the chorus, which I really like. That they're able to do both the chaos and the melody when they choose to. I like I like the off-kilter chuggy part and after that, it goes into like a bit in 5/4, which I then leads into the solo. And yeah, it's a great solo. I think this song slaps.
Yeah, I mean, I have written it's chaotic, but we got another good big chorus, good dual solo in there. But yeah, the more I hear the verses on this one, the more I don't like them. But they're nailing all the choruses so far. Um, and they're really catchy. So I mean, as we're doing this, I just keep thinking like, what if Bjorn had stayed with this band? What would that be like?
Yeah, there are a couple of songs that you can find with him on them, but it's from their first album before they'd really come together.
And before he was a good singer.
Yep.
So
Back when
Yeah.
he was awful.
yeah. But yeah, so this one is it's mixed, you know. It's again, I think I like elements of all their songs, but none of them are quite coming together for me. But now,
Until.
let's move on to track number 5, Layers of Lies, and here we are, boys. I gotta let Brother Dave take this one away.
The song itself, yeah, it's all been leading to this. We did an entire season of soil work just to get to this song. I I love a good acoustic intro, and this one goes into kind of that intro solo also. I think it hits so good. And then when the heavy part comes in at 28 seconds, it's divine. I love what's going on in the beginning of this song. There's so many good riffs. And again, it like builds to the chorus. The chorus is very simple. Lies, layers of lies. I think he says something after that. But it is a very memorable chorus. It is the worst chorus so far.
I would argue it's
Uh,
the best because it's the most memorable and catchiest. And I didn't feel like his vocals were coming across as flat on this one. You
I,
know, this is maybe like the
yeah,
turning point where it's like he's finally hitting the key a little bit better or something like
I,
that.
so on that note of his vocals, I think he's not flat, but it's that he lacks vibrato. His voice is just straight. Like he hits the note exactly, and most people put a little juice on it to just give it something interesting, but like he's flat in a flat paint sort of way. Like there's
He
no zazz on it.
he lacks Zaz. I'm not
Okay.
wrong to say that, am I?
No.
No, it lacks zazz. We also do get a sneaky pinch harmonic at 134. And we get like a 10-second scream of lies at
Yeah.
248. I,
248 to 257. It was awesome.
yeah,
Just for 9 full seconds, maybe 10.
I like this song. This is another banger.
So
Yeah.
I'm
I
I'm
don't
gonna
have much
hop
to add
in.
to that.
Yes, I echo what you have said. It's got that nice classical guitar type intro, and then it busts into just real riffy, mellow death heaven. Um, and this song we have really treated as a meme, you know, and there's some validity in that. But I think going back to a couple songs ago where you're like, you know, the singing wasn't as bad as you remember. I think that we would sing this song purposefully bad, like the lies, layers of lies, and it would make us think that it was worse than it was. And I'm just reminded of God, another Monty Python reference where he's talking about huge tracts of land. And when people make that reference, they're usually like saying like, "Oh, she's got big breasts." Like that's what the father is talking about. She's got huge tracts of lands. If you watch the scene, it's not that at all. He's talking about actual land. That's why anyway, it's very similar to that. It's like, okay, we have misinterpreted this song and how bad he is at singing because he's really not, at least in this song. Um, it's not nearly as terrible as we've thought for the last 20 years. Um, so, I mean, here we are 20 years later. We still sing the chorus. You know, we still remember the song. I think the outro is really good. I think it's doing like the main riff, but in a different key. It sounds like darker and more ominous, as I recall.
Hmm.
Um, I have nothing bad to say about this song. There's a reason it's stuck with us in our collective, uh, you know, conversation and dialogue.
It is a very memorable chorus too. Brother John, anything to add?
Well, I have nothing else to add. You have said it all. And this song, I'd give it a 6. Just this song.
Well, do we want to open up our segment, Lyrical Tactics, Vocal Gymnastics?
Lyrical tactics, vocal gymnastics.
We can probably
May
take
as well.
a short jaunt
Yeah.
in there.
Because I mean, I only ever remembered the lies, layers of lies part, but reading the verses, I'm like, oh, okay. This seems very prescient from 20 years ago. How it hurts to know that freedom is gone forever. Oh my God.
Yeah. He knew that we were going to be recording this podcast in early 2025
Yeah.
in the US.
Yeah, he really did.
Oh, I'm just reading the lyrics now for the first time. I dropped the ball and did not look at them until right now. And yes, they were prescient.
Yeah. I mean, I tried to look into it a little bit, and I think in an interview somebody said it might have been, yeah, I think it was the guitarist who was doing the interview, but it's very like Matrix-like, um, and how you're living in a false reality. Um, yeah. I don't know. I don't have a lot to say other than actually go read these lyrics.
Yeah, I feel like I read through this album and there wasn't so much comedy gold as we've been able to find on some other albums that we've
Right.
covered. Darkane is very much a traditional metal band in the themes that they sing about, and they're good enough at English that it's usually not funny. It actually kind of makes sense. And a lot of themes of like existential horror and insanity and loss of control, you know, metal fare.
That's all we got.
Yeah, that's all I got. Sorry.
So with that, let's move on to track number 6, Godforsaken Universe. Another decent chorus. I mean, they're what? 5 for 5 out of this?
Yeah, I mean, they've basically all been good. That was
Yeah.
something that I realized listening to this album again. I was like, oh, they're all good.
Yeah.
If they had a better vocalist, this album would be incredible.
But would it
Release
still
the
be
Bjorn
Darkane?
Speed. God.
Would it still be Darkane is really the question.
I mean, it is their signature sound. These vocals, like, I don't know of any other band that quite sounds like this. They've carved
Yeah.
out a niche.
Yeah. I mean, but in addition to the chorus, they got a lot of fun riffy guitars on this one. And at the 111 mark, they do like a fun vocal effect. I think I called it the post chorus. You got some kind of vocal effect coming down, and then they break it down to a real groovy jam at the 240 mark. overall, like, what a fucking bop. This is a good song. Uh, you know? Brother John, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, largely the same as what you're saying. They started off with some furious drums and some cool guitar riffs. And then at 17 seconds, they add in, I don't know what they're hitting. It doesn't sound exactly like cymbals, but like the drums seem to be hitting some kind of metal something or other. It's just sort of an interesting sound. And then a few seconds later, at about 24 seconds, there's some little bleeps and blops that get added in as well. So just throwing in some different sounds to keep it interesting. I thought that was pretty neat. I noticed there again sort of a frenetic lyrical delivery style. Like he's just really spitting out those lyrics. Like you said, another good chorus, slaps pretty hard. Yeah, I thought in the chorus they had kind of a cool groovy riff that was a little more melodic. So I think sort of going off what Dave had said before, kind of bringing everything together with the chorus, and then the chaos kind of finds a groove. So I don't know. I like
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah, I like this one too. Uh, all that stuff is true, I think. I think there might also be like some really, really subtle keys or synths or something during the chorus, which I only heard like yesterday when I listened to it for the 10th time in a row. It was interesting. And then the solo is another instance of them using like a non-diatonic scale, something that's not C major or C major adjacent, like a regular minor scale would be, something that sounds different to those of us raised in Western music, even if we don't really know anything about music theory. It's going to stand out to you maybe as a little like Middle Eastern or something sounding.
Mm.
I really like when bands will use those kinds of scales. And yeah, I think to John's point on my point of them being able to build the chaos towards a resolution, I think one of the things I like about this band is that say with soil work, we mentioned at times where they'd hit like one big leading chord, right? And the leading chord would then resolve when they got into the chorus or something. But what Darkane seems to do is somehow they make the whole riff the leading chord. Like the whole riff has a whole bunch of tension in it. So it feels extra good when you get to the chorus to get that release. So there's something he's doing compositionally, I think, that packs that punch that's a little bit different than other bands I've heard of.
And just imagine how much even better it would feel with a different vocalist.
I know, right?
Sorry, had to.
You're not
So
wrong.
yeah, all that to say, I like it. It's a bop.
Well, let's move on to track number 7, Claustrophobic Hibernation. Second instrumental. Brother Dave, show us the wonders of this one.
I am not sure what the point of this song is. It's
No.
so short. It
So that they
sounds
could put the
nice.
guy's name in the
Yeah.
title.
I feel like that was it. They
Yes.
wanted to make the pun, and
Like the other guy did it, and
He
they're-
just
he's
makes
like,
the
"Wha-
references.
What about me? What about me? It's like, fine, take your 37-second song.
yeah, it's just the hype man of songs. It's like, yeah, another song's coming, and then the next song is here.
Yeah,
It-
it's fine.
This song is, it's fine, but in the grand scheme of things, I don't need this at all.
Well, now that I know that there are puns on the names, I'm glad they put it in there so that we could have that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
They gave us
simply
that
for the pun.
silly little
Yeah.
gift.
A 30-second song to make a Pretty great pun. I'll take it.
Yeah. I don't know. Let's have more metal bands do that. Which brings us to track number 8, Vision of Degradation. And this one is a big old snoozer for
Oh,
me.
what? No
Here's the
way.
thing. It's similar to the song It Is Done off the album we did last week, Mors Principium Est, where I just cannot remember anything about it. And try as I might to write anything, I'm just like, I don't remember this song. It's boring to me. So, Brother John, you seem
Oh,
to think this is the best song
well,
ever made. Talk to me.
not exactly the best song ever made, but I did think, well, the chorus in particular, starting at a minute 10, really reminded me of Gojira. And I was like, oh, all right, I like this. And then, I don't know, this song just throughout has a pretty cool guitar groove that I just really liked. So I don't know, the vocals were not hitting me negatively. And I guess there are some similarities to Gojira's vocals and this
Hmm.
guy's vocals, but I feel like Gojira does it better because I never disliked the way that they were doing it. But this song, so maybe he just gets it right, and it's like, oh, it kind of sounds like Gojira. But some of the guitar stuff on this one too, I just thought had a fun, like nice driving groove to it. So that's all. Not the best song of all time, but certainly not the worst.
Yeah, I feel like your Gojira comparison is really accurate. It it's very much Gojira vocals. It's got that tonal shouting, but Gojira just does it so much better.
Yeah, like
Uh,
Gojira is a band that we could do on the pod. I would listen to
oh,
all their
absolutely.
stuff.
I would do that. And they've got a lot of variety too, Gojira. I feel like that would stay interesting. Um,
Interesting. I only know the one song they did for the Olympics. And then I
only
tried
that one?
only that one, and then I tried to listen to their debut, and I was like,
Oh, Paul,
wasn't feeling it.
check out The Way of All Flesh. That I mean, I
Yeah,
haven't
that's
listened
a
to
good
all their
one.
stuff, but that I really liked that one a lot. I think it came out around maybe 2007 or 8, something like that.
Okay,
But that
is that the
one,
one with flying whales?
no, that would be From Mars to Sirius, which came out in 2005, as referenced earlier. So I think we could look it up, but The Way of All Flesh was maybe the one after that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think
Or it
so.
could have been maybe the Link and then that. I don't know. I'm not super familiar with their discography, but all I know is The Way of All Flesh, that one has a lot of slappers, some real bag slappers on it.
Ne-
Blast you right in the
Never,
ball bag.
never use those words
In a
again.
good way though.
Gonna mute you for the rest of the episode. Uh,
Uh,
brother Dave, what are your thoughts on Vision of Degradation?
I understand why you might think it's a snoozer, but I beg to disagree as well. In at right at the beginning, 13 seconds in, we get the first actual polymeter, I think. I think they're doing a 4/3 polymeter between the drums and the guitars.
I'm
Cool.
absolutely gonna drop in a clip of Pickle saying "Pally meter."
You need to.
Playing simultaneous rhythms, polymeters. It's math. So
Uh, I also mentioned that it's just got a nice groove to it, and we kind of see some of our old friends. We see the classic halftime chorus is on this song, and at 2:25, if it isn't our old friend Off Kilter Chugs, which the Darkane Special. And then the solo here I felt was more soaring than some of their other ones, which was a just a little bit of a change in their soloing style, but a welcome one. I will agree that this isn't the most standout track, but not a bad one by any means.
All right. Well, let's move on to track number 9, Contaminated. Brother Dave.
Contaminated Mind creator of the growing feud. Again, actually, like I write down the lyrics of the chorus and I remember what the chorus is. That says to me they're doing something right.
You had
This
a fire in your eyes when you said that. You were like, "This is what I do. I remember."
I'm just excited when I can remember lyrics, I think.
Well, Paul, we should give him a banana sticker, I
Yeah.
think.
Every time he remembers.
But what I have first here is not so much notes on this song, is that this is a dense and unrelenting album. And it's around this point in the album that I find myself getting a little fatigued and often would step away to just take a little break. I usually I will when I'm prepping for the pod. I'll listen to it a bunch throughout the week, and then I'll take one day, I will listen through it entirely, and I will take all my notes. Didn't do that on here. I was just like, I gotta step away from this for a little bit. And I think it is largely Mr. Saito's fault. Vocally, it's a bit monotone. More of the same. Well executed, but not standout is kind of where I'm sitting on this song.
Interesting. I might be more positive on this one. I like the slow intro. It's got like the snare and the slow kind of tom rolls that they're doing. I really like that. Chorus is a bop. And at the 147 mark, they're exiting the chorus and they let the guitar kind of just ring out for a second or two before moving on to the verse. And I'm like, oh, I love small flourishes like that.
But
Um,
Paul, the other small flourish right at that part, which I have that same exact section in my notes, it kind of cuts out, and then the vocals are like, rah. And then they do a fun little drumming interlude, and I don't know, that whole part just sounded cool. He wasn't doing anything even particularly crazy, but just the way it sounded was cool. It's like kind of a straightforward beat, but it just kind of hits, and there's some cool guitar stuff going up and down the frets. So yeah, I liked that whole part right around 149-ish.
yeah. Yeah. You have any other thoughts on this one, John?
No, I mean, you basically said it like the intro. Well, I did notice they have sort of that slow building intro, and then you're like, okay, what's this all about? And then they're like, haha, just kidding. It's actually a speedy little number, and it just kind of takes off. So they throw a little rat-a-tat drumming in there for the fans. Overall, not a bad one. So, I like this song.
All right. Well, let's move on to track number 10, Maelstrom Crisis, or should we say Malmstrom Crisis, one would assume. And Brother John, talk to me about this 70s jam rock instrumental.
Yeah, it sounds like a metal jam band just noodling around, and it's like, what are they doing? It's just, I don't know, experimenting with whatever they felt like adding to this album, I guess. I'm not really sure. It's somewhat dissimilar from anything else on here. At a minute 26, it gets to a section that sounds like it has some harp in it or something like that. But then it's just for a bit, and then it gets back to some other guitar riffing. So it seems like they're just trying out various different styles of instrumental music. And this one is just an instrumental, right? I
Yeah.
don't think there's any vocals on this. So, all the ones, they had to have 3 instrumentals to name after 3 people in the band, I guess. But I don't know. Overall, it was kind of fun.
They really just left Jörgen out. Poor Jörgen.
Or maybe he thought it was a stupid idea. He's like, I want no part of this. You guys are a bunch of fucking idiots. This is the dumbest joke I've ever seen.
He's the bass player, so
Oh, well, maybe that was it. He was just getting short shrift, not allowed to participate.
we can't name one after you. You're the foundation of the band.
Just telling him those lies, layers of lies to try to placate him.
Uh, Dave, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a nice little instrumental. I agree. It's a little weird, especially the harp part. It's like, what? But it's groovy. It's kind of powerful, um, and weird, but I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote, "What the fuck is this song?" It's very 70s for the first bit. And it's fine. It's good. It doesn't fit, but it's there.
This one was maybe done by their side project, The Grateful Darkane.
Ooh. Well, let's move on to track number 11, Decadent Messiah, which starts with some real crunchy bass and drums before we get this really sweet slide into some middling riffage. And the rest of the song is unmemorable to me. Brother Dave.
Yeah, it's probably one of the weaker songs on the album. Great bass intro. I think they do some more polymeter in the going on here in the drums.
Playing simultaneous rhythms, polymeters. It's math.
That comes back as the post-chorus. And the most standout thing musically to me in this is during the chorus, I believe it is. I noted it at 3 minutes and 12 seconds, but I think it shows up earlier. The drums are doing that cool thing where the kicks are following the guitar chugs, but it's a relatively complicated chug pattern. And so it just really makes them super punchy. And if we needed any more proof, it shows that these guys are just very technically proficient, if nothing else.
Yeah.
But they've, yeah.
My main note was a lot of technical timing stuff with the riffs. Hard to follow it very well and predict the melody. I do like it though. Still not liking the vocals.
Gotta throw that one in.
Yeah, it's like, oh, what? I don't know.
In
A few
case you
songs,
forgot.
Yeah.
few songs is like, okay, I'm cool with this, but then it's back, baby, with whatever he was doing.
Well, and here we are now at the end of the standard album, track number 12, The Creation Insane. And this one is fine. It's kind of a boring standard track, but then they switch it up at like the 2 minute mark and it breathes life into an otherwise middling song. But also, like, what a way to end the album. They do like this kind of guitar scale wind up, I called it, like to an abrupt stop.
Yeah, it's just some weird tappy thing, and then
Yeah.
it's done.
And then it's done, and that is the end of the album. What a way to do it. They literally wrapped it up.
Yeah, fuck the fade out.
Yeah.
Yep. It's the
Brother-
opposite, just the abrupt ending.
Yeah. Brother John, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, this one, like at the very beginning, it's got some sweet kind of machine gun drumming, And then really throughout, the drumming is pretty crazy. I thought this one was kind of a rager, at least instrumentally. And if nothing else, it's worth checking out just for the drums, which I thought were pretty impressively fast and insane at various parts. So yeah, I didn't care much for the chorus on this one, but overall, the guitars wail and the drums are going nuts. So I thought it was worth listening to.
Yeah, this is probably the weakest chorus on the album, which is a little bit of a sad way to go out. But I felt like the riffs were still fun, and the main riff is a little bit longer. I like a nice long riff that can keep my attention. What else here? In the pre-chorus, they add just a couple of beats to keep it off kilter. I like it. And as was mentioned, around 220, it gets kind of, might even say that it brings the mosh. Gets a little stankier in the next riff, and I feel like this band does have a lot of decent breakdowns, though they're maybe more technical than most people would care for in a breakdown. The chaotic ending, very sudden. It's not the worst ending I've heard, but I can't help but think that this album could have been bookended with the orchestral stuff at least.
Yeah.
Like it really did show up at the beginning. It was great. Got that harp on the instrumental.
She just accidentally showed up one day. She thought they had another day of recording, and they were like, "Oh,
Yeah.
let's just use her."
Yep. And yeah, then it just wasn't there. So yeah, weird ender. Not my favorite song, but not bad either. There's still a lot of good stuff here.
All right. Well, let's touch on track number 13, Subliminal Seduction, the bonus track. Brother Dave.
It is immediately groovier than the rest of this album. And in a way, like it's stylistically much different. And so I 100% understand why it is not part of the real album. I like there's some interesting stuff going on with syncopation and polymeters throughout this song. At 27 seconds, I feel like it's in 4/4, but it's syncopated in such a way that you're like, what are they playing in? Which is kind of the opposite of where like sometimes you don't realize it's an odd time signature. This one you think it is odd, but it actually just isn't. We get some stuff in 11/8, I think, later, and we get a pretty sweet solo. Overall, a good song. Glad it wasn't on the main album.
Brother John.
Yeah, overall, I'm not loving it. There was sort of a chuggy start-stop riff that didn't really do it for me. It was too all over the place. I don't know, it just didn't really seem like a very well put together song in the grand scheme of things. Although I will say the outro riff I thought was kind of cool, and they had this kind of neat sounding effect on the guitars that showed up like maybe at the end of each riff. It was at 322, 329, 336, and 343. Just I don't know what they were doing exactly, but it was some effect that they tagged on that I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. So yeah, and also too much shouty vocals on this one too. So yeah, could have had it not be added as a bonus track. Just leave it off completely.
Yeah, this one, I don't know. It kind of exists. It's not bad. Doesn't fit. And as I recall, the solo gets real fucking wanky. I won't reference Matthias Eklund because I don't think it's that bad, but it's, it's there. So on that note, let's kick it over to our resident rankings expert, Brother John.
Oh, I will open this segment with pleasure, Brother Paul. It is our final segment, Bop or Flop, where we decide, does the album slap or is it crap? We have honed our patented six-tier ranking system, going from six all the way down to one. We've got the bops, a perfect six, unassailable. This is metal incarnate. A five, like to stand on that thing. A banger that we could easily listen to again and again. A four, or that's doable. A very solid album, worth checking out. And there's the flops. A three, it lacks zazz. A two is just straight crap, and a one belongs in a garbage can. An album that's a disappointment to its father and the listener. Who wants to kick this off? Brother Dave, since this was yours, do you want to save your comments for
No,
last?
he goes first.
Or do you want to go first?
I think it has been preordained. Everything is predestined, like they said in Layers of Lies.
Yeah.
I'll go first. I do like this album. It's got a bit of a second half slump, but the guitar work is impressive. The drumming is impressive. There's an interesting blend of chaotic riffage and melodic phrasing. They do a really good job of building and resolving tension over entire sections. And what else? I mean, they're great musicians. They It's just those vocals. I I don't hate it, but I mean, there's got to be a better way, right, guys? I, I think so. Here's me being generous. I think part of the issue might be that the gu- the guitars are very chaotic and they don't tend to stick with standard scales a lot of the time. And so I think a lot of the stuff they write would be very hard to come up with vocal lines for. And I think that's one reason some kinds of metal tend towards just shouted vocals, because like what the fuck are you supposed to do over this sort of shredding or this like chromatic riffing that it's not even in a scale. What are you supposed to do with it? But then I think of another band who also has very, very technical guitars and who has an incredible vocalist, and that is, of course, Nevermore. And I think Darkane is has a lot of similarities with Nevermore, and I love Nevermore so much, and I feel like it's possible to get these vocals right, and they just haven't found the right guy. And I mean, they've been with their current vocalist for a while now. I feel like they're locked into this for the long haul. So whereas Warrell Dane was an incredible vocalist for Nevermore, who could find that harmonic through line, Darkane is working with a more limited palette. All that said, I admit it's a flawed album, but ultimately I still like to stand on that thing. I enjoy this album every time I come back to it.
I just want to issue a quick correction to you, Brother Dave. They have been with their current vocalist now for a year.
Egg on my face.
Yeah, Tobias Tabo, Darengowski, joined in 2024. Yes, they did have a vocalist, Lawrence Macquarie, who 2011 to 2024,
Who was
you must be
also
thinking
their
of.
second vocalist.
Yes, he was their second vocalist. Then he came back.
So he was on the
God,
very first album, and then
Yep.
whatever came out after this one,
then
and he was worse than.
then they had a fourth vocalist, and
Jens
then McCrory
Broman.
came back. Yeah,
Yeah, who featured a He Speed's buddy who was writing lyrics, and guested once on a Soilwork album. So, yeah.
So, like compared to what we have heard on this album, how do the other ones stack up? If you can say, like, we keep
I
saying if
can't-
they had a different vocalist, maybe it would be great. Like, is that the
So,
case, or
the thing is,
has
I-
lightning never struck?
Lightning has
think-
never struck.
it has never struck. And honestly, compared to McCrory, who is on the bulk of their other albums, I would 100% take Sido. Believe it. Um,
Well, like I said, it's a signature sound, at least from the Darkane stuff that I've listened to. I think it was probably mostly all with this guy.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
I
Well,
can't off the top of my head think of what Mr. Broman sounds like, so I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that album.
as I recall, it's not great, but it's they just keep getting variations on the same singer, honestly.
Can you sing in a monotone? Kind of shout it, kind of
You're
scream
hired.
it.
I want a full page advertisement. Monotone singer saxophone. Oh, okay. Brother John, do you want to give your thoughts?
Sure. Well, these guys can definitely play, but can they sing? They would do well to hire Devin Townsend as a vocal coach, I think, because that seemed to help Bjorn Speed Strid, and who knows, maybe could do some wonders for this band too. But obviously, that was my biggest gripe and initial turnoff. But like I said before, as I grew used to it, I learned to love it, or well, at least to live with it. Kind of like an arranged marriage, maybe. I was kind of forced to listen to this for the pod, so eventually I just resigned myself to what it was, and I made the most of it. And in the end, I didn't hate it quite as much. So typical John Stockholm syndrome as I get with any bullshit that we're listening to. And I listened to it a bunch of times. Like, okay, I was gonna give this like a 2 or a 3, and it's probably a little better than that now that I've given it like 7+ listens. But so in the end, I didn't hate the vocals quite as much. But you know, I had the strong negative reaction at first, but the singing style does give them a unique sound, so they're certainly carving out their niche. Um, let's see. Blah blah. The instrumentation did shine through. So, kind of once I got past the vocals, it was easier to focus on all the cool stuff they were doing because their drummer is pretty incredible and they have some pretty sweet guitar riffs in there too. So that kind of shone through once I got over my initial disdain. So I would say to anyone listening, I think this is worth checking out, but you're fully prepped for what to expect here. So set your expectations accordingly. Your mileage may vary. Just keep in mind it's an acquired taste, but I think it is worth checking out. And, I was initially, when I first listened to this, I was like, okay, this is not better than a 3. But the more I listened and kind of chilled out and, didn't hate the vocals as much, as like, okay, it's pretty good. There's a lot of cool stuff on here. And after a bunch of waffling, I have persuaded myself that ultimately, for me, this one is doable. The good outweighs the bad. So it is worth checking out. I'm giving it a 4.
So I have mixed thoughts on this album, as I think we all do.
You don't say.
Yeah, let's just say I wish they had a better singer. But also it's like this is what we're working with here. Uh, Individually, not a lot of the tracks really stand out to me. I know Layers of Lies. There's a couple others, maybe not even a couple others. I know Layers of Lies. There's not a ton of songs like individually that I'd be like, oh, I have to go listen to this one. Stand out. I need this. That said, I don't mind this album. I'll put it on every now and again, and I think as an album experience, it holds together relatively well, even if the songs themselves can be pretty chaotic and not cohesive. They've somehow crafted like this is our beautiful mess, that we make, and it all works together overall. And I think in a way it's also better than I remembered, just because we would make fun of him being off key, which he's really not. And then listening to it, I did discover a lot of cool parts. I forgot or just never knew, like, yeah, these choruses, they're really good at those. There is some really strong musicality in there. So, all that said, I have to say that's doable. and give it a 4. And I believe this is the very first time we have ranked an album across the board the same thing.
I'm standing on it.
Yeah, Dave gave it a 5.
Oh no! This
He
shows how
loves
much
this
I
one.
listen to you.
He will
I
come back
know.
and listen
Oh,
time
no.
after time.
Well, you blew it, Dave.
I know. I was actually waffling, like, do I want to stand on it or is it doable? But ultimately, I think nostalgia won me over, and I probably bumped it up higher than I should have.
That's
I'm
fine.
sticking with it.
We all did the same thing. I mean, I fucking gave Non-Exist a 5. I know how crazy that sounds.
Uh,
Well, well, soil mates, that is all for this episode, and we are officially done with season 1 of the show. We will be taking a break from releasing episodes for a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, due to the fact mostly that I am moving, and that's super time consuming and an arduous process. But fear not, because we will return with season 2, A Godless Endeavor, where we will be going through the discography of Nevermore. Until then, may the metal be with you, my brothers.
and also,
Hell yeah.
oh fuck!
And also with you.
Oh,
Hell
I'm
yeah,
leaving
brother.
it in.
Hell yeah, brother!
What a perfect sign off.
Love you
Yeah,
guys.
this was a good one.
Oh,
This was fun.
we were loose. It was fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
this was
And
good.
you know, like I said, despite my initial disgust with this album, I grew to actually kind of like it. So
There's so much good.
Yeah.
yeah,
You just gotta pick
Definitely.
through the shit to get to it.
Release the instrumental version.
yeah, no kidding. Uh,
Nice.